Welcome to the vineyards of Versy, the most beautiful in all of Champagne. My darling, I think we might have found the secret to perfect happiness. I am hopelessly, unequivocally yours.
Francois willed the vines to me because he knew I would never sell. I will be continuing to care for them myself.
Wine is a very difficult vocation, my dear. You underestimate what it will require of you.
I know what it requires. I've been in the fields for years.
You have one chance. One.
These fields do not need replanting or starting over again.
I disagree. They need to struggle to survive. I want our champagne to have structure, depth.
I do admire you trying to run things as you want, as a woman would.
If we lose these first shoots to frost, we lose the harvest.
No one can fall asleep.
A woman is not capable of running this vineyard.
When I have proceeds, I will send them to you.
Haley, I'll start with you. Did you give yourself the luxury of learning something about the wine culture in France and the way women lived 200 years ago?
Absolutely. Well, we shot this film on one location in France, in the vineyards of France. I had the pleasure of developing the film before arriving on set, so I really lived with the story for a long time. From Christina Weiss-Lurie to really setting the tone of the film was such a privilege, and something that, you know, there were a lot of bumps in the road. There were a lot of challenges in pre-production. We nearly didn't get to make this film. And so, you know, having that kind of tenacity already going into playing a character that was very audacious and daring and brave. I think you know, to be a woman in the industry that I'm in has its own unique challenges. And I was really able to kind of channel that into playing Barb. For me, the film is about the creative process and how the creative process and doing it kind of your way is transformative and empowering. And there's so much. It's so complex. Yeah. The whole process. The whole process has been.
Well, it's really paid off. I was so gratified to see these women, some women coming forward in films lately, set in a historical time that was traditionally patriarchal, and how she succeeds, how the widow succeeds. Very, very interesting. And Thomas, why did you want to work on this story in particular, and why Haley?
Haley actually was the reason that I came into the project. Haley and Joe together. I've known Haley for a few years, and it was, you know, the opportunity to make a film with her was, you know, I couldn't refuse that on any level. And the script, when they sent it to me, I had no idea, I had no preconceived idea about what the script was, and it opened up to me, and it felt like a really interesting way to try to tell the story. The actual kind of way of breaking the story into the past and the present feels like a clever and interesting way to approach the story, so that we see Barbe-Nicole in different phases of her life, and how they intersect and how they interrelate in the film is sort of almost like the playground of the film, is how to push those two things together while we were filming. So to try to make the stories butt up against each other. So when she's lying on the floor looking at the account books, she's hearing the argument from the past where Francois is fighting with his father about trying to be progressive, and his father just says, well, why don't you just do what everyone else does? You know, just, you know, moments where she's hearing the past, or where she imagines the past, that to me is where the film comes alive, because it becomes something else. You know, it becomes almost a film that's set in her imagination, actually.
Wow. Well, speaking of the tone of the film, for both of you, to me, it mimics wine. You know, the complexity of it, the pleasantness of it, the sometimes the challenge of it. And I thought that was really cool. Wine is something that fascinates us, and I wonder how much you played into that, Haley.
For me, I think the film has an incredibly atmospheric, very tactile, very sensual, very sensual aspect to it. And I think that that's something that we really leaned into. We were inspired by a friend of ours, Souza, who is a mutual friend of both Thomas and I, and she has a vineyard and she lives on a farm in Italy, and they are in the business of viticulture. So that was very informative for us and very lucky, but also, you know, it has the charm. It's very rustic. It's very raw. It's very, you know, you can, and I feel like that is that intention that we set forth for the film really sings when you see the film, because you can kind of smell the wine in the barrels. You can taste it. It's a very sensual experience. I think it's Thomas, what were you saying? You said something earlier that rang very true to me, is, you know, we didn't want this to be a clean cut kind of film. We wanted audiences, we wanted to place them there on the vineyard, which is a working farm. It's not, you know, what we get out of it when we drink the champagne is beautiful and sparkling and something that brings us all together. But the process of actually making the product is challenging, and you are contending with nature and things that you cannot control.
Right. Oh, interesting. Yes. And she's so easy in her ability to be in charge of things. And given the time and the patriarchy, including the next door neighbors, Moy, who wanted to take her property, what was it about her that made it so easy for her to just remain steadfast?
I would say that one of the things that we really latched onto was how hard she worked. And she, you know, Barbe-Nicole wrote something like 30,000 letters, and which is archived at the Veuve Clicquot Museum. And she was obviously an incredibly dedicated human and devoted herself completely to not only making the wine, but distributing the wine, branding the wine, exporting the wine, and then inventing new ways of making wine, and inventing new wines. So she invented champagne, she invented clear champagne, and she created the design for the riddling table. So she was an innovator, a genuine innovator, and she and out of all of this innovation, dedication, and hard work, she created something, you know, so good that we are drinking almost exactly the same thing 240 years later. That's incredible. I mean, it is on its own. That's
what a story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your terrific answers. I appreciate it.
The woman is forbidden to run a business under the law. Her vineyard should be placed in the hands of an experienced executor.
Was this the plan all along?
No, madame. It never occurred to them you would succeed.
So many obstacles ahead, so much at stake. But there is hope, however unpredictable.
Your instincts have always been so good. Why won't you listen to yourself now?
I don't want to.
No one can sell abroad due to Napoleon's embargoes against his enemies.
I want to stay ahead of him.
Of Napoleon? So you're a criminal at heart?
Human beings are compelled to create, to lay down our lives, however best we can. It is so that we might uncover the secrets of ourselves. And that with any luck, 100 years from now, someone will know that we were here.